freight train rolling, bringing truth bombs down the line. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. SCV chat starts now.
Hello, everybody. It is 7 o'clock on Monday afternoon. You know what time it is. It's time for your weekly episode of SCV Chat. I'm your host for the evening, Moose. Now, please remember, before we get involved in anything, the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are not necessarily the views and opinions of the SCV, its GEC, nor any divisions, brigade, camps, or any other subsidiaries. We have Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Donnie on, and Commander-in-Chief Larry McCluney. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Doing fine. How about you, Donnie?
I am doing great, sir.
Well, we got a great episode lined up here for you folks. First and most importantly, I'm going to hand the show over to our Commander-in-Chief and let him speak his mind.
Well, I appreciate it, Moose. Look, I just wanted to have this opportunity to come on tonight. This is probably one of the last chances as Commander-in-Chief I'll have to come on and before the end of my term. I lack about a week and a few more days. But before we even talk about that, let's send a shout out to Linda Gramling. I'm getting positive news that she's starting to recover and everything. So, everybody is keep her and Paul in our prayers and so forth as she makes that recovery from her illness. She's been in the hospital since Father's Day weekend?
Father's Day, yes, sir.
So that it's been almost 3 going on 4 weeks now. So let's keep them in our prayers and keep Miss Linda in our prayers as she makes her recovery, because I'm hearing great news that she is starting to get up and move around a little bit. I think they got her on some type of liquid diet, and they're trying to get some solid stuff in her eventually. They're just taking it one step at a time. That's all it is. So, but I wanted an opportunity to come on and kind of say some farewells to people, because I know not everybody's going to be at the reunion. But the more I think about it, 2 years ago, 2 years has just come by so fast. I can't believe, how fast this term has gone by. And to be honest, everywhere I've gone and visited with people, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do as Commander-in-Chief, and Jason Boshears bought in with me, was to express a positive attitude these past 2 years. I mean, let's look at everything this organization has been through. We've gone through the Take 'em Down movement. We've gone through BLM. We've gone through the Antifa attacks. And Lord and behold, if you thought it was bad, it just got worse with COVID and so forth. Camps were going through shutdowns there for a while. And, when I came in office, I said, you look at all this darkness, you look at all this negativity. I said, my gosh, our organization needs a shot in the arm. They needed a boost of some sort. And lo and behold, here comes SCV Chat, which has been such a great positive thing to this organization. Look how many people it reaches out to and so forth. So one of the biggest things I wanted to do was to build up that excitement back into the organization. And as a result, the membership have started to buy in on this, I believe. Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it. But the organization started buying in on this positivity that we started campaigning for. And I see that positivity really coming up when we were in Metairie for the reunion. It was a sellout reunion. Everybody was excited. Everybody talked about that reunion. And now I think that positivity is going to carry over to this reunion because it looks like it's going to be a sellout on everything. So this is great for our organization. But the big thing is that, I'm the type of person that never really went around patting myself on the back. I don't like a whole lot of attention because if there was things that I did, it was because of you. Nothing that I actually did. It was the membership. The membership supported the direction that Jason and I started to push together with, and it's because of you. If there's any success I had, it's because of you, the members. So pat yourself on the back, guys. It really would not have worked without you, and I appreciate you. And I humbly appreciate you giving me this opportunity. So, let me go back to the beginning. When I was elected in Jacksonville back in 2020, guys, let me say this. Nobody knows what it means to be commander-in-chief until you become commander-in-chief. I was on the GEC as councilman for 2 terms, Army commander for 2 terms, and then fortunate enough to become lieutenant commander-in-chief. But I can tell you right now, none of that prepared me, in a sense, to become commander-in-chief, because you don't know what it means to be until you get into that seat. And then everybody's looking at you for answers. And any of the problems that come up comes directly to you. And you have to juggle all of that. Here it is, the past few weeks. I said, I'm not a lame duck commander-in-chief. I'm going to work all the way up to the end. And I'm dealing with issues right now. My phone has not stopped, or I get emails about issues. So I'm still there working. And whenever I do step down at the reunion and pass it on to the next man, I got 6 more years on the GEC. And I can tell you, I'm going to be a working past commander-in-chief. I'm not going to be one that's going to sit back and just be content and say yes on things or no on things. I'm going to be working. So, people out there, y'all haven't seen the last of me yet. So let me back up a little bit. There's a lot of people out there that deserve a lot of recognition and things, but let me back up to the beginning. Right after I got elected, the next day, it hit me what it meant to be commander-in-chief. And what do I mean by that? That is, I became a target. I really did it for Antifa. My life was threatened. My livelihood was threatened. Thank you, Jason. That means a lot to me. My livelihood was threatened. And then when that didn't work, they went after, as everybody knows, I'm a educator. They threatened my principal. They threatened the school. They threatened my district, and it didn't work. And there were times, and for those out there that don't know, I teach in a 99% black school district. And that's ironic. My supervisors, all of them are black. So, that went on for several months. But I did not allow that to deter me. I did not allow that to stop me from the goal I had. And look, guys, let me tell you something. Jason Boshears, he is my Stonewall Jackson. He is Stonewall Jackson reborn. He is my right arm. And we worked so close together. I'm going to steal a quote for him. And that is, maybe we called each other more than 2 men should actually be calling each other. It was every night almost there for a while, sometimes several times a day we were calling each other. And, my hat's off to this man. I could not have done it without him. I could not have done it without the GEC. Scott Hall, man, you kept me out of jail so many times. Daryl Maples, everybody on GEC knows what kind of temper I have. And Daryl Maples would just go and lock me up in a room somewhere till I cooled off. So, hey, these guys put up with me. Dan McCaskill, look, one of the big things I wanted to do was have transparency in this administration. Dan McCaskill, if you go on the internet right now to our website, you'll find every single record, every minute, every word that was said and put into the minutes of our GEC meeting. He went back years because some of the reunion minutes were not online like they should have been done. But I tell you, everybody, if you ever wanted to see who said what, how we voted on something, all you have to do is go in there and see everything. And Jason, who is running for Commander-in-Chief, if he gets the nod, if he gets lucky enough to do it, he said that will continue. That will continue. So, and then, of course, look, my poor wife, she had to put up with me these past couple of years. I shared everything with her. If it wasn't for her and then listen to me gripe and moan and groan and then try to reassure me that this is going to work, behind every man, there's a great woman. I hate to say it, guys, look, you got to have a great supportive wife if you're going to do anything in this organization. So let's go back. September 2020, SCV chat went on air. Hey, one of the greatest things I think that has been accomplished. Moose, what are we up to? 150,000 views right now or something other like that?
That was just last year. I think we're going to come close to surpassing last year's 150,000 people reached. Just last week alone, we reached over, I think it was 30 or 40,000 people in just 1 week.
Wow.
Yes. I think this is one of the greatest tools that has been created. This was the idea of Connor Bond and Moose and some other younger people, and they just took off and ran with it. And, I gave them the blessing, I gave them the support, and this is all in their hands. What they've done is nothing I've done. I just gave them the support they needed to carry this through. My first GEC meeting was in October 2020, and we opened the museum. As soon as I became Commander-in-Chief, I started working with Adam Southern and said, what's it going to take to have the museum open? It was dragging out. People wanted to know when it was going to open. And I just said, whatever it takes, it's got to be open at that first GEC meeting. And Lord and behold, it was opened. We didn't have anything in it, but it was open. And that was a great day, if you remember that one, Donnie.
Yes.
There was a lot of people there present for that day.
Right.
And we also dedicated the Jefferson Davis statue that day as well. Uh-oh. I thought you done froze up, Donnie.
No, I'm not frozen. I'm listening. Let's go.
And that started reassuring another motto that Jason and I started pushing. They take them down, we put them back up. And it went up. And there have been more that have gone up since then. Let's go back and look at the forest reinterment. Jason and I started traveling around. We started off in January of 2021 all the way through July 2021, and we raised over $100,000 from camps, from members just coming up to us, giving us money. I want to see it again, guys out there. But that money was used for the forest reinterment. We put a challenge out there, and in just 6 months, man, the membership answered. Hats off to the members. Like I said, it would not have happened without you.
Right.
Then in May of 2021, we had our first national pilgrimage in Confederate Memorial Day at Elm Springs. And this is going to be an every year event. So go ahead and mark it on your calendar. The first Saturday of May, go ahead and mark it. National Confederate Memorial Day at Elm Springs. Everybody should make that pilgrimage there. And then, even though in July of 2021, under COVID conditions, even though they had to deal with the loss of the hotel and at the last minute change to another hotel, hats off to the Beauregard camp. They pulled it off. It was a sellout reunion there at Metairie, Louisiana. Yes, we were a little crowded. Yes, there was a lot of stuff that was sold out. But you know what, Donnie? I never heard a complaint.
Me either.
Everybody talked about how great it was, how positive it was. And even though it was a little cramped sometimes, it just brought us together a little closer, brothers and sisters of the South. And not one person complained about that. So, some people have touted that as one of the greatest reunions they said they've seen in a long time. So, with that being said, Georgia, here we come. So, you got a lot to step up to, and they're really starting to sell out everything. Yes, Jason, it was a great day that museum was open, and plus the dedication of the statue. And yes, one of my big things was at the forest reinterment, it may rain before Confederate funeral Memorial Day, may rain after, but it never rains during a Confederate memorial service. When we dedicated the statue, the rain stopped. We went outside. Right. We dedicated it. We put, camps from all over the Confederation sent wreaths, so they brought wreaths, and we put them out there.
In the sunshine, even.
In the sunshine, that's right. So, December of 2021, one of the big things that I have to take my hat off to is to Jimmy Hill, the Army of Tennessee commander. I placed him in charge of filling the museum up with artifacts, with displays, to get the narrative going, the story about our history, about our heritage, and that man has run with it. The latest report I've got now is the storyline is probably about 2/3 completed, maybe more. And artifacts are starting to fill up. We've got different things going on. Electronics are going up. One of the things I asked Jimmy Hill to do is make this a tech-savvy museum because it's going to draw young people. And I got a report. Jason Boshears was telling me he was out cutting the grass one day, and he went in the museum, and he saw kids with their cell phones scanning the QR codes, reading more about our history.
Amen.
Now, look, people, if the museum is not interactive for children, parents are not going to bring them. It's got to be kid-friendly. It's got to be kid-friendly because, remember, they are our future. This is the greatest monument that we have created in memory of our ancestors and the cause they fought for. I mean, go back to what I said. They take them down, we put them up. So, this past September 2021, we had the successful excavation and reinterment of General Nathan Bedford Forrest and his wife, Mary Ann. Talk about a great day that was that day. It was. 2,500 tickets. 2,500 tickets were reserved for that weekend. People went to the boyhood home to see General Forrest come back to the boyhood home for the first time since the war. And he got to lay in state in his boyhood home, and his wife did. And then on that Friday, to see that hearse coming up the slopes in front of Elm Springs, bringing the bodies there. And I think what really captured the moment at that time was to see the riderless horse, the young man bringing the horse up that slope in uniform. The boots were turned backwards in the stirrups. The saddle was empty. And then when he brought the horse to the side and the hearses came by, it was not done on purpose, but it looked like it was on cue. The horse bowed down to the hearses as they came by on their own. And that was captured. You know, my wife, Linda, a few other ladies were up in the not the balcony, the porch on the second floor of Elm Springs, and they both told me they were brought to tears when they saw that. And you know, I didn't do this on purpose, but it just seemed like the right thing to do as people were coming in to pay their respects to, oh yes, thank you, Don. It was Tim Craddock that did that. You know, I didn't do this on purpose. It just seemed like it was the right thing to do. But as people came in, I felt it was my duty to shake everybody's hand and thank them for coming, you know, to visit the general one last time. And then, of course, that Saturday when we buried him, it came a monsoon that morning. A monsoon. I tell you, people were soaked, but yet they were not deterred. They stayed. And just like I said, it never rains on a Confederate funeral or memorial. The clouds parted. The sun came out. I kind of wish the clouds had stayed because it got hot after that. There was a lot of people got blistered.
On this bald head, then it was real hot.
Yeah. So, you know, and then just as soon as it was over, it started to rain again. But you know what? We brought the bodies in. People got to pay their respects one last time, and it was just like it stopped. It seemed like now's the time. You know, we brought the general and his wife out and we buried them. So, you know, the next commander-in-chief, the next phase will be to do the plaza and the pedestal. Everybody. Yes, Bruce Kidd, it wasn't rain. It was Confederate tears. And I think I said something to everybody. It seemed like heaven was crying that day. So, and you know, everybody says it'll be up to the next commander-in-chief to carry the next phase. And you know, I'm not trying to overstep, but there's talk that the goal is to have it all done, not next year, but by 2024. So there is the possibility. What we got to do now, everyone, and there will be a letter coming out in the next issue. We've got to raise. I know we can do it. We did 100,000. We need just $75,000 to finish this project. The statue has got to be repaired, y'all. There's a lot of cracks and breaks in it. It's got to be fixed. And it's going to cost to put that plaza and to put that pedestal back up. Look, I go back to what I said at Metairie. If not us, who? If not now, when? It's going to take us to do this because nobody's going to help us. When are you going to step up? When are you going to support this project right here? When are you going to stand up and show these people that whenever they take them down, we're putting them right back up? Amen?
Amen. And I will make one correction, Commander. You don't need 75,000. You need 74,000 because the Kennedy twins are good for 500 each. So all you got to now raise is 74,000.
All right.
My twin brother in Mandeville just probably passed out, but that's okay. He's done worse to me. I guarantee you'll have that check by the reunion.
I appreciate it. Look, everybody, I think one of the greatest things that, I really want to give recognition to is to Adam Southern, our executive director. People for the past few years have been wondering, how are we going to pay the museum? Look, we're paying the bill every month. We've even got it in our budget. It's never been in the budget before. We were scraping, trying to figure out how we're going to do this. But guess what? We're paying the bill every month. It's getting done. And on top of that, look, we got money set aside to do the narrative, to put the exhibits in, to work on cabinets. It's going to happen, y'all. It's going to happen. But look, if we can pay for Elm Springs, we had a 30-year note on that place. If we can pay for it in 10 years, we can do the same with the museum. It's all about coming together, unity, positivity. Look, forget about what's happened in the past. Forget the negativity. Go forward.
Amen. And Larry, I want to mention something. It was about the time we got Elm Springs. I was in that era, I was on the GEC, and I remember people telling us, you're going to bankrupt the organization buying this old antebellum home here. And look, we got to put a new roof on it. It's got water coming down. I heard all that before. The same narrative now is being spread. Hey, we can do it. And thank you for leading the way the last 2 years to see to it that it gets done. We're getting a lot done.
Yeah, it's all about having the right frame of mind. Look, if we come together as brothers, as sisters of the South, if all of our historical societies come together, we can beat these people. Amen. All we've got to do is come together, be united in one common purpose, and that is going forward. Nothing's going to hold us back. Forget about this negativity. Let's keep going forward. Let's keep this organization going forward as I have tried to do the past 2 years. Look, back in March of 2022, Jason Boshears and myself both said, it's time for the statue to come out. And Lord and behold, it's out there on the yard in front of Elm Springs for everybody to see the general. Please go by there and see it. And then this, May, the first weekend in May, when we had the pilgrimage, that Friday night, we had a red carpet event. And we released the movie Forest Homecoming, the documentary of the reinterment. I showed it at our camp meeting this past Saturday, and I got another standing ovation like we did that night, Donnie. So many people talked about how great that movie was. And they got to see things, even though they might have been there for the reinterment, they saw things in that movie that they did not realize or did not get a chance to see. and yet, Jason Boshears, look, we had to take 5-6 hours. I say we, but the director and the choreographer had to take 5-6 hours of tape or more and shrink it down to one. So we're supposed to get all of that. Jamie Matthews, the choreographer, the filmographer, the director, is going to give us that. And there's the workings together that there may be an extended version eventually. So there's still the possibilities. And then, the last thing I want to point out is, our Sisters of the South, the UDC, the Tennessee Division, they finally dedicated the Confederate Memorial Hall pediment at Elm Springs. It is a massive structure. As soon as you walk out from the front of the museum, you can't help but see it across the yard over there, right close to Elm Springs itself. People, y'all, the grounds is changing. The landscape is changing. This is going to become the Mecca for anything Confederate.
That's right.
And the
Larry, tell them how long that pediment is. That is a huge. I thought it was just a little small until I saw it. It's amazing.
I don't get me the line. I think, what is it, J-Bo? I know you're on here. Is it 85 feet long or more?
It has to be. Yeah, it's almost a doggone football field length, 3/4 anyway. It's impressive. It's massive. And the UDC ladies were very, very proud to be able to put that up there on our property there. So you did a great job, Commander.
Well, I didn't do it. It was the Tennessee Division ladies. I was just there to say a few words when it was dedicated. But, that pediment were the original stones that came from the Confederate Memorial Hall dormitory at Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
And the UDC sued, and originally it cost him $50,000. Now, when they sued and won, that was the equivalent, from what I was told, $1.2 million. Is that what they said, Donnie?
That's what they said. I was shocked.
Mm-hmm. Jason said 76 feet long.
There you go. We were close, wasn't we?
Yeah, I said about 80. So, but, Jason was out there all the time trying to make those ladies happy. I'm sure he went out there with a tape measure a couple of times. So, one of the last things I want to bring up is that I worked closely with a gentleman from Texas who is 87 years old, and he wanted to make sure that we got his Robert E. Lee statue. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this statue is an exact reproduction of the Robert E. Lee statue that was in Statutory Hall in Washington, D.C. And they moved it and sent it back to Richmond. The only difference between this one and the original is that it's made out of San Antonio limestone. Well, we had an anonymous donor give us $5,000 to put up the base for it. We were going to do it ourselves, but looks like once that base is put out, Jason said he had to put out 21 bags of mulch in front of that pediment.
I wonder how he knows that.
But, that statue, once it goes up on its new base, the statue stands about 7 feet tall. Just imagine what that base is going to be adding to it. I think that base is going to be about another 5 feet. So, anywhere from 11 to 12 feet that's going to stand. And we're going to have Robert E. Lee. We're going to have Jefferson Davis. And we're going to have Nathan Bedford Forrest out there. And guess what? It'll form almost like a triangle between all three there on the property. Jason Boshears, one of his big projects as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, was doing memorial bricks and pavers. We're fixing to order our first batch, I think he said. Look, y'all got to get on fire about this, Here's a great way to memorialize your ancestor. Buy a brick, put it out there, and it will create pathways. We're going to have pathways on our property. Look, one of the big things is I want people to explore the property. I didn't know this, that we have, 85 acres that make up that property? And I have yet to see everything on there. There are springs on that property. Adam Southern wants to eventually make these springs where we can bottle our own water or possibly drink from it. Who knows? So, look, there are things out there to see. And guess what? We got a historical tree there now. You know, when we did the what was it? The last Confederate Memorial Day there at Elm Springs on the 1st of May. They came, the arbitrary, what do you call it? Audubon Society or Tree Society there in Tennessee, Historical Tree Society. They marked it as a historical tree because it's been there way before the war. We're talking about a tree that's over 150 years. It is believed that it might have been there before the house was built. So this is something that's taking place. And we think there are more trees that might have been even older than that there. People like to see these things. They come from all over the country to see this stuff. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, children, y'all, Elm Springs is a place to see. This more than just the house in our museum. It is things to see on that property, and it's growing. And I can't wait to see what happens next when the next commander-in-chief comes in. We are in exciting times for our organization as we go forward. All we ask is that you support what's going on. Come together, all of our organizations. Let's push back these people that are trying to destroy our history, that is trying to destroy the foundation of this country. I said a couple of weeks ago, look, if it wasn't for Southerners, we wouldn't have a country. Who wrote the Constitution? A Southerner. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? A Southerner. Who wrote the Bill of Rights? A Southerner. And the first four out of the first 5 presidents were Southerners. And Southerners have answered this country's call every time.
Here.
Every time we've had a conflict. Look, if it wasn't for the South, if it wasn't for people like us, this country would not survive. I hate to say it, but I'm telling the truth. Am I right, Donnie?
You're singing my song.
So, hey, guys, I know I'm getting fired up. I know I'm getting on the soapbox and so forth, but everybody out there, look, none of this would have happened without you. I see a lot of people saying amens and giving me congratulations and everything, but I'm telling you, it's nothing I did. I just happened to be the man out there with the gavel sitting in the right seat, but it would not have happened without you. You bought into this. You is what is causing this organization to go forward. Am I right?
You're on top.
Yes, sir.
So y'all, I appreciate the support y'all have given me these past 2 years. I couldn't have done it without all of y'all's support, without your advice. The GEC, maybe I'm being a little biased, but I think the GEC that served with me has been one of the best GECs I've ever dealt with. And the reason why I say that is because we may not have always agreed on some things, but I tell you what, once that vote was made, we walked out hand in hand, supporting each other and said, now let's go forward. There's no turning back. Everybody, if you would just forget about the issues, the negativity that is surrounding us, and come together and go forward, there is nothing on this planet that can stop us. We can make this organization grow more. We can preserve our heritage. Look, the press talks about how many statues they've taken down around this country, but they never tell you how many of them have gone back up, and they never tell you about all the new ones that are going up. They don't want us to know, and they don't want the public to know, because they want to present a narrative that they're winning where they're losing. They're losing because of you, because of the support that you've done the past 2 years. And I tell you, whoever goes in as commander-in-chief next, please Give him the same support as you gave me, because I pledge my loyalty to the next Commander-in-Chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander.
Thank you, sir. Wow.
I'm sorry, guys, if I got a little passionate, but it had to come off my chest.
I've seen that happen once or twice.
So have I, once or twice.
If y'all could just hear my neck popping right now.
Well, Mr. Donnie, I feel bad for you having to follow that.
You know what? Following in the shadow of a great man, you just cool down and keep on going.
Yeah, well, we're going to keep on going now. We're going to keep on going.
Absolutely.
Well, first off, Commander, I want to thank you for giving us the ability to do SCV chat. It has been one of the greatest honors of my life to do this and serve as one of your aide-de-camp, sir. And I am happy to call you a friend and happy to say, that I was blessed enough to be more involved in the SCV under your time as CIC, because it has really fired me up. And I have a love for this organization, my fellow brothers in this organization, and for my Confederate ancestors that just keeps burning brighter. So let's all give a thank you to Commander-in-Chief Larry McCluney Jr. for all his hard work he has done. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to come back. Pop-Tart break, yes, sir. We're going to come back, and we're going to be using one of the wonderful faces of the SCV that the commander got into circulation when he was Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief. And remember, our Pop-Tart breaks are sponsored by the Confederate Legion. Join them today at www.makedixiegreatagain.org.
Good.
I got into the SCV after receiving a reward back when I was in high school. I had no clue what the SCV was. All I knew was that it was a rebel flag and it was supposed to be racist. I decided I would go and look further into it. Everything that we're taught from a very young age is that the Confederacy was wrong. They were treasonous. But it turns out it wasn't just because the South had slaves. This was because of a very fundamental principle of big government. There's nothing more American than keeping the government in line. It's what we were bred to do. It comes down from 1776, Declaration of Independence. It's because we decided to keep a government that we deemed tyrannical in line. That's what the true definition of the cause is. Me being a young black American and being a part of the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a shock to a lot of people. The black Confederate soldier would have had to have been one of the hardest working soldiers there was. These are men who decided to take up a cause because in the end, it was their own cause. In fact, most owners wanted the slaves to stay back because that was how they were steadily making income. They made a choice to do something that was bigger than themselves. And that's why, as a black Confederate now, it is my duty that I owe them to do something greater than myself. Confederate history is American history, and you cannot separate the two. I am Sammy Travis, descendant of Private Benjamin Rowe, a Confederate veteran.
Whew, that one always gets me. I love that one.
Yeah.
I met Sammy many years ago when he first joined the SCV. He was still in high school. His parents would bring him to the meeting in Monroe, and just a fine young man, and I believe he's graduating now in Texas, University of Texas, I believe. And
Texas A&M now.
Texas A&M.
A&M.
Hey, it wasn't LSU, so what does it matter? Lord,
Texas
here we
A&M
go.
now.
But anyway, but I want you to notice what Sammy says. He said that Confederate history is American history. Boy, he hits the nail on the head. And we've got to do things that will make sure that all Americans understand that, especially Southerners. So that's one of the things that drives me to do what I do and keep on keeping on, even at this age. I admit now I'll be 75 in 2 months, and I ain't even halfway ready to slow down. So I want to keep charging at the enemy. As they say, you advance toward the sound of the guns, and that's what I want to do.
Amen. Amen. There's no turning back. There's no going backwards. It's going forward.
Amen. And with elections coming up, it's definitely time to keep moving forward, make sure we don't go back. And with that, I'm going to allow Chief of Heritage Operations, Donnie Kennedy, who is running for Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, to either speak or maybe let me ask questions, whatever you want to do, sir.
Well, just let me make a few comments, because I owe this position to two men, Paul Gramlin, who first appointed me Chief of Heritage Operations 4 years ago, and to our current Commander-in-Chief, who is so gracious to allow me to continue and has worked hand in glove with what we're doing. So I appreciate those men, but I also appreciate the members, people who are willing to join the Confederate Legion, which is part of the SCV. It's part of our outreach program. It's part of us getting our message, taking our narrative to John Q. Public. And of course, John Q. Public includes the political establishment, which up to now has been ignoring us. So we have done a good job there, not nearly as much what we need to do. But I have plans, if I'm elected, if the membership in their wisdom elects me as Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, I will work with the Commander-in-Chief and the new Chief of Heritage Operation to put this movement into overdrive. We've got to find ways that we can reach beyond the same old people that we talk to all the time. I love talking to my fellow Confederates because we're of the same spirit. But we need to reach John Q. Public. And you all know about the poll that Ron and I had commissioned to be done in Louisiana with Republican voters in Louisiana. It was over 99% positive, maintain Southern heritage. In the return postcards that was sent to us, we'd have people write in the margin, why in the H are those Republicans voting with the Antifa folks? What's going on with the Republican Party? These are Republican voters. And the LSU did a poll of the whole state, and 74% of the entirety of the state, black and white, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, they all say leave Confederate monuments alone. We can win, but we've got to educate our people out there, John Q. Public. We got to motivate them, and we got to activate them. And there are ways that we can do that. And one of the things that I definitely want to do is explore ways that we can get our name, the Sons of the Confederate Veterans, out beyond just this small local group. So that's my whole drive. Ron and I, if you've ever read The South Was Right, you know how we feel about the South. You know that we feel that the South didn't fight the war because they thought they were right. By George, they fought the war because they were right. And what's going on in Washington, D.C. today proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee and our Confederate ancestors, by George, they were right. And if you don't believe me, look what's going on in that cesspool, that deep state in Washington, D.C., the trampling of constitutional rights that should be sacred in America are now, my George, you have more constitutional right in Russia than you do in the U.S. If the president decides he wants to maybe shut down churches because, somebody might get a disease or something. You know, they didn't shut down bar rooms when they had the AIDS epidemic going, but for some reason they shut down churches. That's a violation, a strict violation of the Constitution. The red flag laws that they're passing now for your guns. Do you realize that they could say, well, that Donnie Kennedy, he believes in secession. He's a traitor. He's preaching treason. He liable to take those guns he's got and kill people. We're gonna have to put him in jail or at least take his guns away. They can do that with any of us. Under real states' rights, your state could intervene. It's called interposition to prevent the federal government from doing that. We've got to restore respect for the Constitution and our forefathers. Go read the charge that was given to us. They didn't say, General Stephen E. Lee didn't say, go build us monuments and protect our monuments. There's nothing wrong with protecting monuments and building monuments. But he said, what? Vindicate the cause for which we fought and which you also believe in. Vindication. Go look it up if you have any trouble. It doesn't say apologize for what the Confederate forefathers fought for. It says vindicate. And that is what I am about. And if you elect me your lieutenant governor, if you elect me your lieutenant commander in chief, was that a Freudian slip or what?
I don't run for president of these United States.
If you elect me your lieutenant commander in chief, do not complain when Donnie Kennedy follows suit on what I'm saying tonight, because this is what I do. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the original constitutional republic that James Madison gave us, that Thomas Jefferson gave us, that George Washington gave us, the same republic that Abraham Lincoln and his blue army of invading whores destroyed. We can reestablish that constitutional republic, but it comes from us. I had a young man in upstate New York on a podcast tell me a couple of months ago. He said, Mr. Kennedy, if the South does not do something to save this country, America will not be saved. America is looking to the South. Listen, Southerners, we're looking to you. We've got to do this, and we can do it. I'm sorry to preach so hard, but I got a little bit of the commander-in-chief in my blood. It's his fault. He got me started.
Well, remember, Donnie, I always believe, all the other points of the compass is a direction. The South is a geographical, cultural location in this country. Nowhere else in this country will you find a finer place to live than right here in Dixie.
Amen.
But we believe in conservatism. We believe in God, the Holy Ghost, God, His Word, God, the Bible, and we believe in our rights just like our ancestors passed down to us.
And just like Sammy Travis alluded to, if we believe in these constitutional principles, we must defend them. He was talking about his great-great-grandfather fought against the idea of big government. He fought to keep government under control of we the people. What's going on in this nation right now but just the opposite of that? So we are the people to lead that charge. Now, the SCV is not a political organization, but we can advocate for the principles that this organization was established to promote. If we'll do our job, there's other people that can do far more in the political realm. But the SCV, we must do our job. We must prepare the field. We're almost like John the Baptist going forth and preaching the gospel of here, the kingdom is at hand. We are John the Baptist, this organization. We've got to do our job. And I just hope we don't lose our head in the process, but we have to do that job.
Yeah. Well, let me point something out, Donnie, now. We don't want to forget our sisters now, because you kept going John Q. Public. Let's don't forget about Jane Q. Public now.
There you go. There you go.
We're all about unity. We got to bring all our brothers and sisters together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Harrison, you have any questions?
I got about 3.
All right.
Not much, and of course you can speak as long as you want to. With it being kind of national time at SCV Chat, we have a bit longer episodes.
Okay.
We have of course, big week. I would say this is our second most busiest time of the year here on the show. Right above it is, of course, April.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions I have for you. Any new ideas on how to on retention, keeping members in the organization?
Yeah, retention has always been a problem, and I've been a member. I can't remember, since about 85, I believe, 85, 86. And I've never had a problem being for retention because I was actively involved at the camp level and the division level. But I've noticed we've always had some fallout from members. And you're going to lose, any organization will lose some attrition of some new members. But what we've got to do is hang on to those people. And one of the things that I'm recommended to do, and I've got to work with headquarters on this, as Lieutenant Commander and Chief, what I would like to do on every new member that comes in, I'd like to be able to communicate directly through, number one, hard mail, one good letter, U.S. mail from me, and then with email, and on a monthly basis tell them, look, this is what's going on in the SCV. We've got this event coming up. At your camp, you should be involved in this. The Confederate Legion is every 2 months we sponsor a counterattack. Here's what goes on. This is how we do our counterattack to get our narrative out in front of John Q. Public. Give the new members almost hold their hand and pull them along the first year. They'll do 2 things. Number one, it'll keep them involved. It'll educate them on what's going on. Plus, they may end up being the most enlightened member in their camp, because a lot of camps just really, they don't seem to know what's going on all the time. We need to be sure new members are signing up to the Telegraph. They understand what's going on with Commander's comment. I've talked to Jason, if he is our future commander-in-chief, which I personally hope he is. They're going to continue the commander's comment. So every month they'll have and this might be a little different venue. We've been doing it thanks to Ray Shores and Victory Flags or more in Florida. We've been doing it in Florida, but Jason being in close to Columbia, Tennessee, it'll be difficult. So we are looking at the possibility of doing it either on a Zoom type of meeting or maybe on SCV chat, maybe or around the Confederation once a month doing the commander's comment. People need to know commander's comments coming in. I need to listen and see what's going on. And we're going to try to establish a system where members can send in questions to be answered. What about this? What do I do here? That then the commander can address those. So what we'll do is collate them into different subject matters. So we can't answer everybody's question, but we get 50 questions on one subject where this needs to be addressed. So that's something else to do. The main thing is to get people educated on, number one, who is the SCV? What do we do? How do we do it? When do we do it? What do I need to do to be actively involved? And what does my camp that I'm a member of needs to be done? So that's just one of the many things that we can do for retention. And there's a lot more that can be done, but I think if we do that, I think that will help out in retention more than anything else at present. And I'm open to any suggestion because, listen, this is an issue we've been fighting as long as I've been in the SCV. This is not a new issue that just came up in the last administration or so.
All right. Another one. How do you plan to reach more people?
Hey, listen, this is one of the, I'm glad Commander McCluney was talking about the museum and the timeline, what's going on there. This museum, it's not just a museum. It is a focal point to get people interested in the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Now, here's what I want to do. I want to see some of these the video of Sammy. I would like to see videos like that, professionally done 1-minute videos that we can do, and perhaps raise the money to run those videos on some market, whether it's Newsmax, whether it's on Fox News. That costs big bucks. Now, they don't just sell that easy. But we need to put our face out in front of those type of people. Now, listen, we won't be able to do that at first, but there's other things we can do. There are national journals and magazines that are sympathetic toward our point of view. They're sympathetic towards traditional American values. There's 2 or 3. I've got a Newsmax magazine right here. It goes out to several, probably 100,000 people. Those people, out of that 100,000, I would guess maybe 10% of them have heard of the SCV. We need to run ads there, but you don't run ads for the SCV. You run ads for the museum. Come see the only pro-South Confederate museum in the world at Elm Springs National Headquarters of Confederate Veterans. And then you have a picture of the museum, you have a picture of the Forest statue, you have a picture of the pediments, whatever you want, a picture of Elm Springs there. Let people know, hey, this Sons of Confederate Veterans, they got a museum there. What you're doing, you're advertising the museum. You're not advertising the Sons of Confederate Veterans. You're advertising an organization that has a nice, unique museum. And then you put your little barcode, your QR code down there. They can hold their phone to it, and they'll get about a 2 or 3 minute video about the museum and about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And then whammo, they can push here for membership information of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. You can get those type of ads in journals a lot easier than you can get a journal to take an ad just for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Plus, you'll get a lot more traffic into our museum. And what does that do? Hey, that's money there. People are coming in. And when they come in there, they're going to see a timeline of what's going on. Ron and I right now are currently working on the Reconstruction timeline. And we're going to have that, hopefully some of it ready to at the National to show people what we're doing there. But people need to understand that the Reconstruction era was a revolution in itself. We all know that Lincoln led a revolution that transformed the Republic of Republic that the founding fathers gave us into this consolidated universal one nation, no sovereign states. But there was a continuation of that revolution in Reconstruction. I have a book that was written in 1929 called, and if any of you are familiar, it's Claude Bowers, The Tragic Era, The Revolution After Lincoln. And he goes in talking about how the revolution after Lincoln continued the destruction of the original America. It was written in 1929. Now, I'm going to hold up something here. Maybe you can see. This is a little journal called Wings. It is a journal put out by the Literary Guild of America in New York, New York. They did a review of his book, and they talk about why the editorial board selected The Tragic Era as a book that every American should read. They just absolutely sound like one of us recommending this book. Listen, we need to let America know that Reconstruction, it was a continuation of a revolution. There was a communist by the name of James S. Allen who wrote that said Reconstruction was the continuation of the Civil War into a new phase in which the revolution passed from the stage of armed conflict into primarily a political conflict to consolidate Northern triumph. Throughout, and Carl Schurz said the same thing. He was a radical Republican and a socialist from Germany. He said the same, very similar. Even Frederick Engels the co-founder of the Communist Party, praised the war against the South and Reconstruction as something that would change America and get it ready for the, quote, proletarian revolution, which is the communist revolution. So we've got a story to tell. We've got a story to tell in Reconstruction, how slavery didn't end, but it was morphed into sharecropping, in which more white people became slaves than black people, and how during Reconstruction the radical Republicans pitted black Southerners against white Southerners in order to keep their votes going and keep control in Congress. Even Hiram Revels, the very first black United States senator, he resigned from the Republican Party in disgust. He wrote a letter to President Grant, a Republican, condemning Grant and the Republican Party for pitting white and black Southerners against each other in order to promote themselves. All of this needs to be told, and we can do this. This museum is not just an artifact, a storage for artifacts. It is a place where we get to tell our story, and it gives us an excuse to get on national TV and with ads and national journals and periodicals and promote our museum and therefore our organization and our narrative. So at last we'll get beyond the same old 30,000 people that we've been talking to. You know, we can spend all this money and buy ads in the Confederate veteran. Man, we're preaching to the choir. You know, the choir needs to be preached to and encouraged, but we've got to get beyond that. We've got to get Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Public. Is that better, Commander?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We've got to get, yes, sir, go ahead.
Let me add something here. You know,
yes.
I think we got a member on fire and is really starting to sing our praises with Elliot Witt. He is absolutely right. It is a team effort. Yeah. We are 30,000 strong. We need our sisters in the UDC. We need our sisters in the OCR. We need our brothers in the MOSB. We need the SAR. We need all of our historical organizations. We need our veterans organizations working together because we all have a common goal.
There you go.
Elliot Witt is right. Thank you, Elliot, for saying that. We got to start sharing the truth. You know, go ahead.
No, I was going to dovetail on what you're saying about we've got these veterans organizations. We've got to let everybody know, yes, we are probably America's oldest continuous operation veterans organization. And the same people who are condemning us are now condemning both World War I. In World War I, the United States Army was the most segregated army in the world, and they were so racist they wouldn't even allow blacks in. They gave them to the French and let the French use them. So now they're condemning America for being racist in World War I. And of course, in World War II, they're now condemning us because we were fighting Japanese. That's just white against the colored man again. And of course, we know in Vietnam how they feel. So we've got to realize that these people, and we've got to get our message out to veterans and to various civic organizations, who we are and what we're doing. This is why every 2 months, and after this convention, you're going to see it on steroids, folks. The SCV will be working. We're challenging our camps to get busy, and every 2 months, get on the bandwagon. Let's get busy. Let's tell everybody in your community. Let's send letters out to agents of influence, civic organizations, elected officials. Let them know who we are and what we believe and what we stand for. And remember, just because you send a letter out to a politician and you don't get positive response today, that don't mean you won't get positive response. And let me tell you why I know that's a fact, because Ron and I sent letters out after we did our poll in Louisiana, which was an amazingly positive poll. We sent letters to talking about this poll to every Republican elected member of the Louisiana legislature, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. There is a guy who voted almost against everything that we believe in. And, you know, he wasn't standing up and saying I'm Antifa, but he every time Antifa said, we need to take this down, we need to get rid of Robert E. Lee Day, we need to get rid of Jefferson Davis holiday, well, he would vote with the rest of the liberals. Well, this guy recently talking to one of our commanders of our local camp in North Louisiana, he just pulled him more to the side and said, a lot's been going on lately that, we need to get together and talk about this because we need to work together. They're taking down too many of our monuments. Well, where in the heck was he before he got that letter? You see, we've got to build a fire into these people, and we've got to let them know we have the population on our side. Local camps, you are the one that will get this done. Listen, I joined the SCV in 18, well, it feels like 18, in 1985. I was told then that all the work is done at the local level, at the camp level. The national can help. The national can give some direction. It can come to your assistance under certain circumstances, but the work of the organization is done locally. The salvation of the South, the restoring of our rights, the promoting of our heritage in a positive manner will not be done if the SCV camps don't get involved and do it. If we lose everything, it's because too many people sit on their hands and say, well, I just don't think that'll work. Well, if you don't think it'll work, give me a better option. Doing nothing is not an option. Doing nothing is surrendering. So we're going to do something. And don't you dare vote for Walter D. Kennedy as your Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief if you don't want to hear this over and over and over. Every SCV camp I go to, I'm going to challenge you. Are you actively involved in your local community? It is here that we will win. And it will not be done by the national. I don't care. You could elect Donald Trump as our Commander-in-Chief, and it still won't get done. The victory will not be had unless it's done from the camp level, the ground level up. Remember, folks, we're states' rights people. We're supposed to understand it's local government, local control, local activity. Yes, the national organization, it must be there to give some direction, some guidelines, and to jump in and help when you're in a situation where you need some more help and more advice, but it's got to be done at the local level.
Donnie, let me add something else to that as well, since you brought it up. Let me go back and talk about the museum, as you pointed out and so forth, how crucial of a centerpiece it is for our organization. Look, this museum would not happen without our members' support. We need your support, your financial support, because nobody's going to finish paying off the debt on this museum except us. And if it's going to be that focal point, if it's going to be that centerpiece, as you said, Donnie, as I've been saying for years, as it goes all the way back to Chuck Mack, where he dreamed of a museum at Elm Springs, it takes all of us coming together and taking care of this. We did it. We paid Elm Springs off in 2 years on a 30-year debt. We can do the same here, and we can make this place the mecca of everything Confederate and Southern cultural history preservation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Carl is right there. He said every successful camp that I've ever been involved with locally, local is the key. And he's right. And we've got to get involved. People hear me say that they take it the wrong way. I say, if all your camp is doing is polishing tombstones and cleaning cemeteries and maybe raising a monument here or there, if that's all you're doing, we're going to continue to lose. What we've got to do is when we clean a cemetery, we've got to take a picture of our organization out there cleaning that cemetery. And we've got to be able to put it in the newspaper, put it on your social media. Social media, every camp member has some form of social media. If they don't, their wife, their children, their grandchildren does. Get that picture and get that information out to the people in your local area. Take it to your newspaper. Maybe they won't run it this time. Take it, make them turn it down. Take it back again. Call your radio station. You got a talk radio show in the morning. A lot of drive-in people driving to work, they have a talk radio station. Pick up the phone, call them, say, hey, look, I'm a member of such and such camp, and I just want to let you know what we're doing. And we're doing it because we're honoring the men who defended our homeland against an invader. You don't have to go into great detail about the war wasn't about slavery and all the fine points of constitutional law and that sort of thing. Let them hear a positive message, let them hear Sons of Confederate Veterans, and let it go. If every camp would do it, and let me ask you, how much would that cost you to make that phone call? Not a thing. How much would it cost to put it on your social media? Not a thing. You reach hundreds and thousands of people. Multiply that by the 800, I think we got about 843 camps. My Lord, we would reach millions and millions of people with our narrative. And I always tell people, if people say, well, but the news media is full time, the academic and even a lot of the religious institutions are all talking against us. What is one little news release going to do? Have you ever noticed that a small candle can dispel a lot of darkness? What we have to do is be that candle. I always like, when I go to speak a lot of times, I'll take a spark plug with me. And I'll hold that spark plug up. And, of course, a lot of the millennials may not know it, but that car that you drive, unless it's diesel, if it's gas, if it's internal combustion gas, that engine runs because of a tiny, itty bitty spark that you can hardly see. That's what causes the combustion. Your SCV camp must become that spark plug in your community. Tell the world who we are, what we believe, and why they should continue to be proud of their Southern heritage, and why they should get on the phone and call that elected official who voted with BLM and Antifa to remove Robert E. Lee's holiday. That's it. It's simple. It's easy. We can do it. It would be hard to lose with all this positive stuff going on, but we're losing because we're not fighting the fight smart. I'm on Facebook with a guy. I won't call his name because I might end up being profane, because he criticizes the SCV because we don't get people out in the street hollering and marching and waving Confederate flags and complaining and that sort of thing. And I keep trying to tell him, we're not the left. The left can burn down buildings and kill people, and they don't even get a slap on the wrist. But look at January 6th. What happened to people up there? They're still, some of them still in jail, can't even get out of jail yet. There's two sets of standards. The law and the judicial system is not on our side. We can't act like those people. So we've got to fight smart. There's an old line in, I believe it's Braveheart, where they were talking about the English coming in, and they're too many and they're too big. We can't defeat that. And I don't know, one guy said, we don't have to defeat them. We just have to fight them. That is correct, because when we fight them, we are that spark that will ignite that engine that's going to lead us to victory. And we can do it, folks.
All we got to do is start working together. Unity. There's strength in unity. We all got to come together on the same page, preaching the same message. That's all we got to do, and keep going forward. Have nothing to hold us back. Don't let all the distractions, don't let all the detractors, don't let all these people get you bullied into a fight or an argument. Just keep going forward, and we'll be successful.
And there's so many things that we have now, we've created in the last 4 years. During your administration, Commander, we came up with the Dixie Defender, which is a unique Southern Defender, like what Ray puts out, but it's pointed towards gun shows and individual camp locality. We are now talking about doing, say, let's talk about in my area. I've talked to a camp commander in Farmerville, Louisiana. It's in Union Parish. And by the way, Commander, it's Union Parish named in 1845 in honor of the original Union and not Abraham Lincoln's Union. So I want to make sure people, I live in that parish, and I want you to understand that is the parish name in honor of the original Union. But we can do a Dixie Defender where we're talking about the Confederates in Union Parish, Farmerville area. We might not be able to do about 1,000 of them, but we can get that in the community, and it's local interest. People will look at that and talk about it. Okay, so we're influencing people in only one local area. But I believe, Commander, how many camps do we have? Is it 843 or something of that nature? If every camp would do something like that, just think of the millions of people we would influence. The possibilities, it's overwhelming thinking about the possibilities of what we can do. And we can be that spark plug that sets off a movement that will absolutely shatter our enemies. I'm not interested in pushing our enemies back. I'm not interested in just re-erecting a few monuments that they've taken down. My goal is to crush the head of that serpent that has destroyed real American constitutional government and those who are willing and so eager to destroy Confederate heritage and history. Remember, as Sammy said, Confederate history is American history. Traditional American values are under attack, and we are the ones who have been saying for so long that it's going to attack everybody. Commander, I recently heard on the news about a week ago that after the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision, there were attacks on Catholic Church where the statues of the Virgin Mary was either desecrated or pulled down and destroyed. Does that sound familiar? And did we not 4 years ago begin saying, if you do not come on board with us and let's put this in its right perspective and defend all American values, even your values will be under attack? And that's exactly what's happening. So we can do it, folks. The SCV can be the very thing that can start this movement. We're like I said earlier, we're like John the Baptist. We're preparing the groundwork. We're getting people's mind where they understand, yes, this is what our fathers fought for. The Confederate forefathers were no different than the colonial forefathers. If you hate one, you're going to hate the other. If you love one, you love the other. And I love what our forefathers in 1776 gave us. And I have dedicated my life to preserving that form of government and that ideology alive in this world. And we can do that. And we can do it. And if the South does not do it, it will not get done. And if we lose the South, America will be lost, and much of Western civilization will go the way too. We've gone almost an hour and a half there.
I was about to say, Mr. Donnie, I don't know if that was just pure fire. I got soaked up into the moment. I'm guessing along with all the chat heads, as I hadn't even realized how much time has passed. But
I thought there for a moment we was having a succession rally there for us fire eaters were speaking.
Hey, that reminds me. I was in Vermont at a meeting up there.
Burn your boots before you came back across the Mason-Dixon?
I beg your pardon?
Did you burn your boots before you came back?
No, but I threw them in the river. But we were having a discussion about secession up there. And we had various groups, and somebody was talking about secession. I said, look, I am not a secessionist. I don't believe in secession. I am a lover of liberty. And like Patrick Henry, I think liberty trumps government. Now, if that makes me a secessionist, then I'm joining ranks with Patrick Henry. And what problem do you have with Patrick Henry? All of a sudden, people begin to, I think I understand what you're saying. No, I am not a secession. I think, like Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis, I think that is the very worst thing that could happen to this country, save the loss of our constitutional liberty. That is far worse. So I agree with Patrick Henry and with James Madison.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on, Mr. Kennedy?
Nothing other than listen. If you need to, folks, we've got our commander's comment. We've got 3 commanders' comment this time, and the third one is an encore. And we're talking to the commander in chief about some of his books. He's not like the Kennedy twins. He does very little self promotion. But since I believe the South was right, I just can't help but promote myself every now and then. But we did a video with the commander-in-chief about some of his books, and especially his book on Beauregard, which has just recently come out. And I'm anxiously awaiting my signed copy. I was supposed to have one, but something happened. But I will
have one at National. You'll have
I'll get it at National. But anyway, y'all be sure you listen to that. It is very interesting. It's a little short. What, about 8-10 minutes, Commander? It wasn't long. So we be sure to listen to Commander's comment. Go to Make Dixie Great Again, and you can find it on there.
Link is in the chat for that, everybody. Of course, I want to thank our great guest for coming on tonight, Commander-in-Chief Larry McCluney and Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Donnie Kennedy. Another great episode. We got a lot of stuff planned in these upcoming weeks. Make sure to share this episode and tune in Wednesday for our special episode featuring Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Jason Boseers, who is running for our new Commander-in-Chief. And you can also email scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and you'll be featured on the upcoming episode of Look Around the Confederation, who will have Charles LaRayon, who is running for the Army of Trans-Mississippi Councilman, if I am
that's correct,
my right state of mind. Yep. So again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank the Commander-in-Chief for coming on and giving us probably, I would say, one of the best speeches of his term. And of course, Chief of Heritage Operations, Mr. Donnie Kennedy, not letting the fire go out and keeping it bright. I'm very.
Come Wednesday, you're going to get some more of the fire coming from Jason Boseers. So I'll get ready.
I was about to say, we got a great week for y'all here. A great week to celebrate the past 2 years of this great administration and a bright future for the SCV. Again, I'll see you chat heads Wednesday. And remember, no Fumar in the elevator.
No Fumar in the elevator.
And remember, Ref Rock.
Ref Rock.